Now, South Africa's universities are facing a crisis of demand, with institutions receiving far more applications than they can accommodate. For example, the University of Johannesburg received almost 700,000 applications for just over 10,000 spaces. This highlights not only the aspirations of the country's youth, but also the challenges within the higher education system. Joining us to discuss this pressing issue is Alungile Kamtshe, SASCO President, who will provide insights into the systemic problems and potential solutions. Alungile, appreciate your time. Now, what factors are driving this overwhelming demand for university placements?
Thank you very much. Greeting our brothers and sisters during this difficult period of Right to Learn campaign. Look, it's clear out there that there's been a lack of planning from the side of the government of South Africa. I mean, it's over 30 years and access hasn't been broadened to this far. We have institutions, only 2 institutions that have been built since the dawn of democracy. So that's why we have so much of a crisis. I mean, we are becoming victims of our own success as a country, whereby we are getting so many of our students matriculating in numbers, and now they need to further their own education so that they can pursue their career paths. But now, this is an exposition of the lack of planning, but equally, it's also a lack of planning from the side of the institutions. I mean, if you take an institution like UG, the numbers that you see there in terms of applicants reflects the number of interests of the youth who want to further their own career paths. But what's interesting about UJ is that there are no fees for applications. But to the other institutions like UP charges students, the applicants fees, and they make roughly 16 million out of only those that will be rejected this year. So, and we're going to be interacting with USAF so that they give us an explanation if over the years there's not been strengthening and a broadening of facilities and institutions of higher learning so that more students can access. What is it that has been happening with that money? So this is clear corruption by institutions of higher learning. So we can't have it at all. It's clear corruption, and we have to confront it as it is facing us. Thank you.
Now, why is it corruption? Because you'll admit that there are administrative costs to going through this number of applications. I mean, when we talk about universities such as Stellenbosch University, for instance, or UJ, where the number of applications is 33 times the number that the university can actually process. There's a huge cost, an admin cost, associated with going through all those applications, do you not think?
Yeah, let me tell you, I'm in an institution of higher learning. I've been an activist in an institution of higher learning. There's nowhere during the year where we get a report from institutions that there's been added staff that hasn't been employed to deal with applications. There's no such thing. The staff members remain as they are in terms of numbers and the amount that they earn. So what do we mean by administrative costs? Because what we would have preferred is a situation whereby if an institution like UP or VETS knows that it's going to reject students in thousands of numbers, it would then place a notice that we've reached the number, the quota that we set out for the number of students that we are going to take, and not let it play out throughout the rest of the year so that students, applicants can pay and apply to these institutions without any proper feedback. So it is corruption because they're not letting the public know exactly what is it that happens with this man once these students are rejected. But the issue of applications fees is just not near or there.
Okay, let's talk about your conversation with government, right? Now, you've talked, I think you've indicated that there are 2 institutions of higher learning that have been built in the last 30 years. What is the conversation with government about building more universities and more establishments for these graduates to be able to be accommodated?
Yes. You said there are 2 solutions to this. One is short-term, one is long-term, because we're making projections on our end that what's the feasibility of the long-term project of seeing more institutions being built taking place sooner. So the short term to arrest the situation, because we're experiencing congestions in our townships and in our villages as a result of these massive rejections. So what we're expecting in the short term is that government must establish a conversation with these institutions of higher learning to see if there can be online classes that are taking place so that many people can access. And also that government must have a conversation with institutions to see if there can be a day and night classes so that access is broadened. But more interestingly is that we've seen that government can collaborate with the private sector, like in the student accommodation project, though it has its own challenges. We would want to push the government in the interim to collaborate with the private sector so that there can be funding for those private sector academic programs so that access is broadened in the interim. But in the long run, we have forever pursued that government must build more infrastructure so that education becomes a priority in South Africa.
Final question, and I'm hoping you can give us a quick answer, Alungile. A week ago, I spoke about doctors that are unemployed in the country, 1,800 doctors that are qualified and unemployed. And I'd imagine that the issue is the same. And when we talk about unemployment, we're talking about unemployment in the 30 percentiles at the moment. So, yes, these students will be accommodated if government makes a plan, allows them to learn online or learn during the evenings. But where do they go once they graduate?
Look, interestingly that you are raising the issue of unemployment, because it is one of the major contributors to this congestion that is taking place in institutions of Ireland, because most of our students, once they obtain their qualifications, once they can see that there's an unemployment, they have no other recourse but to apply for another qualification or to pursue postgraduate studies. Government of South Africa needs to make a clear plan. It needs to confront the economic, social conditions that are there so that there can be employment that is created. We are in full support that industrialization must take place in South Africa so that there's massive employment opportunities for everyone in South Africa. This is not only limited to these doctors. Many professions out there are acquired by students, but they have nowhere to exercise the skills that they've acquired. So it is necessary that the government becomes more proactive on this issue, because it is a government that is supposed to be developmental in nature.
Alungile, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for speaking to us at SASCO President as the number of applications for university places blows up.